ado, I would like to hand over to Victor. So Victor, please.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for your time. I want to start actually apologizing because I am not there live in Chicago, and we were mentioning before with Alan that there is a couple of things that real-time communications cannot do yet. One is enjoying the physical space that you are in, and the other one is tasting the deep dish pizza that I love so much from Chicago. That's something that I'm not going to have with you today, and I'm really, really sorry. Not that much because I'm not there, because my videos will be there, and the content is going to be there for sure, but I won't be able to have that pizza with you tonight. All good, Alan? An auto update. You see, that's the kind of thing that you cannot control. Perfect. Once kind of overwhelmed by Murphy's law, let's get started, because before something else happened. So as Alan was mentioning, my name is Víctor Sánchez. I am an electrical engineer, and I started a company called Mashme, and I will be telling you all about it in a moment. I'm also a Google developer expert in HTML5, especially I touch a lot of WebRTC and web components on that piece. I am sometimes a speaker and an IAB geek, of course, and as Adam was mentioning, an IIT alumni and fan. That's some of my pictures of my time there, including my graduation day around that. So the objective of this session today is to tell you about how Mashme got where it is right now, with customers all over the world that include Oxford, Colorado State University, Harvard, and many others. How we got there in terms of understanding the new market, focusing on a need, and applying real-time communications to the edtech world in a successful way, right? So that's the basis for the talk. So I would like to start talking a little bit of the mission and vision for Mashme, because I think that that's the way to understand how we found out our market. So when we created the room of the future, and you will know what is the room of the future in a moment, and I'm going to have one of my customers actually telling you what the room is and what it does. What we want to see is to change the way that education works. And the reason for that is because I was a teacher at IIT for a period of time. I was a TA in a cloud computing classes. And I also am a kind of a continuous learner, as all of us curious people are, right? We want to know new things. And obviously we are living this revolution, right? This revolution of Coursera, Udemy, and massive online courses. And we are consuming this monodirectional content in those platforms. And monodirectional content is great, but let's face it, not all learning experiences can be learned or can be kind of executed and enjoyed even in that monodirectional way. So what happens? If I try to recall my eureka, my aha moments in class, where I really learned something, where I discovered something that I didn't know, when I felt proud of myself of learning something new, there is something in common of all those moments, and it's the fact that I learned them because I interacted with my teacher, I interacted with my peers during that period, and I've done that face to face. I did online with a camera in front of me, and the only feedback that I ever had from that camera was the red pilot blinking in front of me. That's the only feedback, the only human feedback I have. And education is an extremely human behavior, right? We need to ask questions and have those answers in order to have that engaging learning experience. So we realized that in the edtech world, something was missing. So the room of the future, and that's the mission and visions, is to transform distance learning, to take everything that works of being face-to-face in front of my students and transform it and scale it up to a level where your building won't be able to reach. And that's kind of the challenge for universities. And understanding that became the basis of understanding your market and finding that chimera or that unicorn that every single startup is trying to look for, and that is product market fit, right? Having a product that your market needs and not a kind of a need that you just invented, which is much harder to sell, right? So one of the things that we did when we wanted kind of move to that edtech market is let's take a look to what drives the market, right? What are the reasons why education are going to be purchasing something like a real-time communication system? And what we realized were several things. The first one is there is a social need for this. Right now, I had a conversation with the CIO of Oxford University, Mark Bramwell, And he was telling me very proud how a few years back, they built this satellite Oxford University in Shanghai. 4,300 seats were inside that building. And that's fantastic. But he realized that in 2020, 43 million Asians will be trying to find higher education seats on those buildings. And 43 million versus 4,300 that you were able to build, clearly that won't scale. So there is a demand for universal accessibility for higher education. Our customers are not only universities. We have also companies, corporate universities, training centers for multinational companies, banks, and others that are trying very hard to reduce also their carbon footprint, right? I mean, they are consuming a ton of CO2 to move their C-levels, their directors into a hotel in front of your headquarters somewhere in the world to just have those meetings happening, which is frankly quite insane. Then there is the diversity and accessibility. Thanks to our system, we are opening the doors for classes to be more diverse and accessible than ever. Suddenly you have more countries, more people, and more groups of people being able to join those classes, and that makes it extremely exciting. And there is a clear alternative, right, to homeschooling, which is very popular in some countries, including the US. In terms of the qualitative, right, we needed to provide something that blocked and covered the end-to-end journey of a student. And that was for us extremely important. They are using our platform to know the campus before they pay for tuition. They are using it to meet their teachers and their cohort before they ever fly for the first time to that university. And they are using the system while they are alumni to just connect with other peers and find common interests, new activities or new courses in that university. Because nowadays, engagement is everything. And if you want really to have 4 years of a conversation and then consider yourself a doctor prepared for the rest of your life or an engineer prepared for the rest of your life, we all know that's not how education is going to work anymore, right? The reality is that nowadays, educating yourself is going to be a kind of continuous stream out of your whole life. If you want to do that, going back and forth from the building where you were educated, it doesn't sound very practical at all. Obviously, the time wastage on that, it's also extremely important. In terms of the technology, we wanted to do like this seamless, immersive interaction that you're going to see. And there is also economic factors. We just closed a contract with Arapahoe Community College in Colorado, and they are talking about reducing the price of future degrees that have a hybrid environment. So physical for the first week, physical for the last week, Mashme in the middle. They are talking about reducing student debt in 30% because those degrees are going to be much, much cheaper now that you don't have those utilization, right? So imagine the impact that we can have on there. I mean, we are not charging money. We are saving you money and charging you a piece of those savings, right? In those terms, in many occasions. There is also an extreme competition between universities to get that national and international students inside. So giving them the facilities, giving them the infrastructure to be able to access to those classes and that content and your excellent teachers in a distributed way, it's going to matter quite a lot. And finally, we have also the geolocation of the faculty, right? I mean, and we are not talking of, oh, my teacher is in Japan. No. I'm talking my teacher is in Fort Collins, Colorado, and I want to move it to Castle Rock on the south of the state. That's a 3-hour commute in your best day. If it's snowing, you are not making that route for sure. So placing the right people on the right places sometimes is extremely hard. So once that we understood the market, we needed to understand before doing anything, right? Is there really a problem that is sizable enough for our company to grow and thrive? And what we found out is that absolutely there are, right? I mean, we are talking universities in North America. We are talking of 5,500, 4,000 in South America, 6,000 in Europe, and that is growing quite fast. Even though in some occasions we see already some universities dropping, right? Because the model is changing quite a bit. So we find a very big market that is struggling to continue because disruption or technological disruption is happening at a very fast pace. So they need to innovate. So we thought of that we just mentioned. Now I'm going to present you the room of the future. I'm going to do so by using the words of someone that knows it very, very well, which is Colorado State University Business School Dean And let me try to show you this very quick. It's going to be 2.5 minutes. I promise it's worth the time.
How do we provide a high-quality education? How do we provide a high-quality education to those who have no access to it? This is what we're talking about. This is the national conversation. Welcome to Mosaic at Colorado State University's College of Business. Mosaic is a transformational learning experience to engage online students directly in the classroom. The students that can participate using Mosaic will have that very same experience as if they were actually sitting here in a classroom. They'll have that connection to faculty.
Well, hi. We help each other. That's fantastic.
They'll be interacting with students in the classroom. It's a real experience that everyone will benefit from.
At the College of Business, we are in the business of transforming lives. We prepare principled, innovative business leaders who seek to make this world a better place. Mosaic extends that conversation to deepen learning and gives virtual students the same personal attention from faculty as those sitting in the class. The platform provides real-time options for online learning by seamlessly bringing on and off-campus students together in one immersive and blended classroom environment. Our 27 high-definition Mosaic screens provide remote students the ability to learn, collaborate, and network in exciting new ways. Students can raise their hands, ask questions in real time. They can participate in polls and work with faculty and facilitate group work, ultimately expanding networks and building relationships.
We've always been a leader in the online and distance education space. We've always been known for delivering an exceptional quality program. Mosaic invites students from all walks of life to have access to our top-ranked distance programs. Mosaic represents the future of business education. We are excited to take this next step in online learning and bringing this new technology to you.
Perfect. So hopefully all of you could hear the video. I couldn't hear it from your side, but if someone can give me a hands up that you could hear it, that would be wonderful. Yeah, perfect. Thank you very much for that. I actually appreciate it. So we saw very quickly what the Room of the Future is all about. We partner with customers like CSU and with system integrators and AV integrators all over the world. Some of them Howard Technologies, Whitlock, Diversified, and others. And they build these massive video walls that could be either in front of the classroom, at the back of the classroom. And in the case of CSU, as we saw in the video, we are seeing an experience where the online student is just one student more in a hybrid environment, sitting down with the rest of the students. We see them laugh with each other. We see that the teacher talking with any of them indistinctly. We have been seeing also how the students speak among themselves in the classroom or among themselves from the physical to the virtual world. And we see that interaction that we were mentioning. Mashme is not a go-to-webinar kind of solution, right? This is not a 1 to 10,000 solution. What we are doing is something much more face-to-face. We want those groups from 40 to 80, as you will have on a regular classroom. And I want to be able to interact with you. And that human feedback comes back. And here is where the kind of the technical piece comes into piece. We are having up to 200 students in 180 being transmitted with 200 milliseconds or less. And this is one of the first things that we realized when we have the Room of the Future system is Mashme Room of the Future was designed from the very beginning, having quality not as the first priority. And that's something that sounds extremely counterintuitive, especially when you are on a real-time communication conference. But the reality of it is that in interaction, right, and we know this very well, you can handle a couple of pixels here and there on your video, or a couple of losing quality on the stream because your compressor is doing strange things, or your bandwidth is doing strange things. What you cannot handle if you want to have a conversation is that some of you will be asking a question about one of my slides 6 seconds after I show it, because that breaks completely the conversation. That's not a face-to-face conversation. That is actually a military walkie-talkie or a satellite connection or something like that. So interaction, in order to happen, discussion, arguments in order to happen, need to have that low latency as a design priority. We are deployed currently over the Google Compute Engine worldwide, and we use one of their projects, which is called the VPC, the Virtual Private Clouds, and we deployed over Kubernetes all of our systems, which essentially consists on an SFU. In this case, we use, I am actually, our company is a spin-off from UPM, so I'm sure you are familiar with Linkia Lightcode, which is a UPM project of an SFU, and we have been developing our own version of the SFU now for almost 6 years, and we also contribute to the open source project as a company. And we also have a patented algorithm, which is called the shared memory, which essentially allows us to do what you are seeing right now. When I'm changing slides here, when I'm going to number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, number 6, and you are seeing all of that immediately happening without any other artifacts, it's because we are using a distributed synchronization algorithm that we patented. This essentially synchronized distributed database works in the following way. Instead of sending every single pixel of my screen 30 to 60 times per second and kind of destroying your bandwidth on that attempt, what we are doing is we are using your peers in your conversation to transmit the smallest amount of information possible. So if I'm sending a slide, that's the number of a slide where I'm in. If I'm, let's say, playing around with an application that I'm sure you know and love, and I'm going to show you where I'm connecting today from, it's not a bad place, but today I would prefer to be guys with you in there. So as I'm doing this, I am not sharing my screen. What I'm doing is I'm sharing we are opening both this Google application, and I'm only sending you the latitude, longitude, and zoom level for that map. So you can easily see that I am in Madrid as I'm having this conversation. I can apply this algorithm and this patent to essentially anything that Mashme does, including the slides, the videos, or anything else that we are doing. And that allows me to synchronize that content in a very easy way. So technology is a massive piece of being able to do something like the room of the future. But remember that we started with looking at the market, looking at the needs before anything else. So this is kind of the solution that we mentioned. Obviously, it's WebRTC based, as you can imagine. So we remove the browser base, allow us to remove installation, configurations, and setups, that reducing the friction that I'm sure all of you very well know and love. And our dynamically scalable cloud architecture that I was mentioning allow us to dynamically, thanks to the Kubernetes architecture and orchestration of our Docker containers, to deploy what we need extremely quickly on those regions. And we are even doing prediction models right now and I know that this is kind of a buzzword at the moment, but we are training a TensorFlow that allow us to know what areas will need how many machines at what time, because we are able to predict the behavior of our customers. So Mashme can have as little as 51 instances running when the rush hour is in the middle of the Atlantic, but when the rush hour is in the middle of the Pacific United States, we may have 250 or even 300 instances running only in the US, and we are able to predict those needs and react very quickly on how we make it. The last piece of making something like the room of the future possible and a success on a market like EdTech was doing something that was kind of designed for the use case, right? And if you take a look at who are we replacing, we are replacing Zoom, we are replacing Adobe Connect, we are replacing Cisco WebEx and Blackboard Collaborate, essentially, right? And the reason why we are doing that is because all of our customers were living in a good enough world. I'm using Zoom, even though it's a corporate collaboration tool, because it's good enough for EdTech. I'm using Skype or Hangouts because they are good enough for EdTech. But obviously, when the right ring that fits perfectly on your hand arrives, you are going to make that switch when you go to those niche features. What were the niche features that we found out our customers wanted? We got the automated breakout rooms, the ability to have these persistent breakout rooms where if I have math on Thursdays, but I want to do the homework with my 4 peers from 4 different countries over the weekend, I can do that. The screen sharing with annotation, obviously with very low latency, whiteboard, polls, surveys, the class chat, the raise hand, the remote lecturer, as I'm doing today, the virtual teaching assistant interface, the simultaneous translation with a human translator with up to 8 languages, the session recording, session analytics, and even facial analytics to know the emotions that we have on those faces. And I'm going to be going a little bit deeper on some of these features as we go along. What this allowed us was to close really big names, right? I mean, I'm talking Keller Williams, the real estate company. They are doing the training for up to 1,700 franchisees. They are doing it through Mashme. We have HBX, Harvard, Queen's University Belfast, Allfans, Banco Santander, Oxford University, NYU Stern, PepsiCo, many customers that are growing and kind of going on top of this use case. All of them, they already have a collaboration tool. One of the 4 that I mentioned, or some even more weirder than that, right? So that's what this is allowing us to do. And what are they doing with this? A ton of things, from MBAs and executive MBAs directly online. They are doing dual enrollment programs where you have to attend several campuses like CSU, Colorado State, and Arapahoe Community College, summer camp and summer courses, faculty consolidation, what we were talking about of having that all around the world, the remote community, career days through this. They are doing admissions through this, interviews for the admissions, or even kind of virtual campus tours with this. Many use cases that now they are using with the Mashme Room of the Future. This is a couple of the installations that we have. The first one is Oxford, CSU, Nebrija University, Banco Santander, which is one of the biggest ones that we have created. That's 48 screens, and you can have up to 160 students from all over the world in full HD. And then you are seeing also how we are approaching the market, right? One of the issues that we had on our first year because of the name of our customers is this is kind of Ivy League university products, right? This is very expensive. This is way too complicated for a small college or a small English academy or a small office to have something like this. So what we did is we listened to that and we started competing with Zoom rooms. So we created the same system. We reduced number of people and we call it the Delegate Room of the Future. We created those 2 products. And we went even further than that. And now we have even what we call the Personal Room of the Future that uses a Samsung gaming screen, curved, 42 inches curved on a mega panoramic screen. And we have that same experiences of the face-to-face interaction with your students. The student view is very similar to what you are seeing today here. It's a web-based interface, extremely simple. You have your dashboard full of the contents of the room because everything is persistent. Then you have, of course, the ability to see more information about the students that are around you, and even when they are topologically speaking in there. You have, obviously, the analytics portal, as I was mentioning before. And one of the awesome things about having a web application doing something like this to populate the video wall is that we are able to create what we call sitemaps. And in this case, imagine a remote presenter, right? I want to have this piece of the content as something prominent in my system. So thanks to web components, we are able to rearrange these puzzle pieces in almost any way imaginable to be able to showcase what we do in a very different way. So for instance, if you are having only the teacher in class, you won't have the content very big and you will have many faces on the wall. If you are projecting to a full auditorium of physical people, then I need to rearrange my layout in order to fit the use case. And the system allows you to do that in an extremely easy way. As I mentioned, the facial analytics was a very important piece of what we are doing in terms of R&D. 3 minutes, got it? And the last one I wanted to show is the virtual studio. One of the things that we are working right now is the ability to do the production, the live production of what you are seeing on the wall and what people are seeing at home directly from a web interface, also based on WebRTC and HTML5 web components. So this is a very quick summary of what the Room of the Future is, how we got to this idea, and how we are implementing it all over the world. I know that 3 minutes is not enough at all for that. So my email is victor@synkrtc.com, and in Twitter, Víctor Sánchez, if you have any questions. And now in these 3 minutes that we have left, I'm happy to answer any questions. If there is no questions, thank you very much, Alan. Thank you very much, IIT. And thank you very much, guys, for the opportunity. It's been a pleasure.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Victor. So do we have a question at the front here?
Wonderful.
So when you send those coordinates, do you use data channels on WebRTC or do you use some other method?
That's a very good question. We are using 3 different systems, actually. If you can, you use data channels because they are the fastest by far. If you cannot, you do a slow polling over Ajax or WebSockets, depending on your network configuration and how far are you from your peers. And if not, we use push site servers, push site events on the server side in case you cannot do it that way. In order to guarantee the low latency that you saw, we are indeed using data channel and our own signaling protocol.
Any other questions? If not, let's show our appreciation for an